Welcome to The Storm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me as always is Ben Slinger.
Hello, hello, hello.
We're getting close to 200.
Oh my god. We are so close. We have no plans. It's going to be just a regular episode, but...
Exactly.
It's going to be 200.
Yes.
That's a lot of episodes, Trevor.
It is. And that's 200 without any breaks.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that never missing a week record.
And we've even got like a bit of a backlog, so if we do miss a week, we're still not going to miss a week.
Yes, you will not know. But anyway, that's next week. What are we doing this week?
Click pitch.
Oh,
yeah.
that old chestnut.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
It's done pretty well in the last, 200 odd episodes
or so, yeah. All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, click.
Do you want to tell our new listeners if we've got any what click pitch is?
Nah, fuck them. No, okay, I will. I just forgot. I'm sorry. Click pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us in the form of a nice little Discord bot. And on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we will click refresh and get a new word, or in this case, a new phrase of an adjective and a noun, because we are doing ramped up click pitch. So let's do it. Oh, yeah, and then we turn them into game designs. Did I say that bit? I think so.
If not, doesn't matter. 3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah.
Wondrous staff.
Staff.
S-T-A-F-F.
Intimate hiding.
Ooh. Okay, so wondrous staff, I think Indiana Jones. I think
He didn't have a staff. He had a whip.
Yes, but you know what
You
I'm
mean just
talking
like an
about,
artifact of some sort?
an artifact
Okay.
that he's looking for that's obviously hidden.
Okay. The hiding.
so-
Yep. Hopefully not in too intimate a place. Sure.
Well, it's intimate because it turns out that it's hidden underneath his family home. Like,
Oh, okay. Is this okay? So is this Indiana Jones or an Indiana Jones type?
I think this is young Indiana Jones. So,
Okay.
Sean Connery, as Henry Jones Sr. Is sort of disciplining Henry Jones Jr.
Does that mean we actually get to meet Indiana the dog?
Unfortunately, Indiana the dog has just passed away.
Oh,
And
maybe that's
it opens on the funeral scene.
Okay. How old is Junior at this point? What are we talking?
Don't know because I haven't watched the movies in a while.
It doesn't
so I
have
want
to
make
be.
Sure
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like canon correct.
Okay.
Are we talking like 12? Are we talking 19?
18 or 19, I think.
Okay, so this isn't like kid Indiana. This is the sort of time period of the actual like whatever it was Adventures of Young Indiana Jones TV series or whatever.
Yep.
Which I don't really have much knowledge of, but I know it existed.
Yes, it did. I'm picturing that he gets told off by Senior and he runs out into the backyard and falls into like a sinkhole sort of thing.
Okay, because they just have a sinkhhole in the back. Is this?
Well, I'm thinking that he sort of goes out into the backyard, and I'm picturing that it's sort of like a deserty sort of area. That,
Okay.
It's sort of like maybe Arizona or something like that. I'm not sure exactly where they grow up, but it's big open wide space, and as he's going out there, he sort of falls into like an old cave or something like that.
Gotcha.
And of course, when he gets down there into this old cave, he finds like a wondrous glow, and literally like this is what gets him interested in the whole the whole artifacts thing
and artifacts. All right, so does he finds this stuff now, or is this just like he finds out that there's something down here and he wants to explore further, and so he finds the stuff. What is it? It's obviously mystical in some way.
Yeah.
What's the gameplay up to this point? Like, is this all cutscene, or is this like, third person playable, watching this kind of play out?
I think this is sort of like a third person actiony Arkham Asylum sort of view. To the point that I'm almost thinking, how cool would it be to have like an Indiana Jones sort of thing where it's Indiana Jones sort of game where it's actually more based around you know, the adventuring and all that sort of stuff is a little bit better than the action adventure that, you know, the Fate of Atlantis and all those sort of ones went to, and even better than what the, I can't remember what the other ones were. Infernal Machine and
well, they tried to do some third-person ones, like action-y ones, and they weren't that great. Okay, I like this. This can be the kickoff for his adventure, and then I think I really like the idea of a modern open-world Indiana Jones adventure along the lines of like Horizon Zero Dawn or like the recent Mad Max or like something. You know, like, I mean, it's a fairly classic formula. But I think the staff thing is like the main storyline, like that sets it off. Maybe he finds the staff and he's, I don't know if it like, he finds something out about it and he's trying to track down other, like maybe other parts of it or something, you know, or like the source, the origin of it. But opening up the world then, and maybe it is this like sort of desert area where, you know, he's basically discovered that there was like a civilization here that no one else has known, and it's about you find clues and missions.
I'm almost seeing it as like a Shadow of Mordor sort of thing, where you got the different maps that you can sort of go to.
Yeah, that could work too, because then you're a bit more focused in a particular area, and it's maybe like, okay, do enough in this area, and it's like finding specific artifacts. You know, fighting fucking Nazis, I guess, or whatever time frame we end up sort of putting
I'm thinking into. Because this will just be around World War I or whatever, because I think it was like 40, so it was just after World War I, and so
let's just set it like literally 100 years later, so it's like 2025, and it's fighting fucking neo-Nazis in America. Because it's going to be the same shit again anyway.
It's retro. Don't you get it?
Yeah. It's retro. Nazis are retro, are they? Is that why it's coming back?
Yeah.
Never went away. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that idea. And you know, have some nice whip swinging mechanics for like grabbing stuff from a distance or swinging over gaps. Hat throwing. Nice hat physics. Definitely a good hat physics.
Yeah, I think that's a key. Like, it's got to be a nice floppy hat, but also have that good sort of. It's easy to knock off, but you can easily put it back on as well.
Yeah, I think unlike Red Dead, which I think made you like forced you to go and pick up your hat every single time, I think this is more of a.
You can whip your hat back in.
Well, I think it is physically. Simulated, so like it will fall off based on physics, but you create some like nice AI sort of inverse kinematic sort of stuff that
reaches out and grabs the hat.
Like if it gets too far away, he'll reach out and grab it or whip it or whatever. Like he'll always find a way to get it back on his head regardless of the situation.
Yeah, I love that whole thing of, you know, you're in that trap room, you're trying to get out, and you get out, and it's like, yes, I left the hat in there, and his hand goes out and just quickly grabs it.
Exactly.
And puts it back on.
Yeah, there's no way to actually not get out with your hat.
And so that almost leads to, you know, like I'm picturing the speed runs and all that sort of stuff. How quick can you actually lose your hat?
Well, I'm sure the speedrunners will probably find some hat glitch where it's like, okay, I need to get my hat knocked off so it goes into that corner. So when he tries to reach for it, it actually pushes me through that wall and I skip this whole section.
But that's what I love about it. The fact that hat physics becomes like the biggest hack.
Totally. Hack physics. Yeah, I like that. And then I think that just gives you a lot of leeway for different types of, and in that Batman Arkham kind of way, I think stealth makes sense for indie as well. So you can have sort of that you know, stealth sections, you've got more combat based sections, you've got more traversal based sections, you know, obviously Tomb Raider-esque things. There's a feedback loop of inspiration there with Tomb Raider.
Just a little bit.
But
then you've also got like the romance angle, because there's always happens to be the romance that
starts
totally. Sparking up in the middle of a
Oh, do we get a companion sort of thing going on then, where it's it's not just a story. Companion. It's like you've got your own
a computer controlled companion that you can also have your friend drop in and it becomes co-op.
Definitely, that sounds good.
Yeah. It's just when someone worked out that we accidentally left the code in there for the hot coffee that they go and enjoy. It becomes a weird co-op experience.
No, that's a selling point. Fuck your friends as Indiana Jones and his sexual dalliance of the day
of the week.
I mean, we've said that Indy he's not that much of a womanizer. There's always a romantic angle, but anyway, we've said he's like 19. Is this his first sexual experience?
Ooh, is he a virgin going in?
Yeah, I think this is very important to the gameplay to know.
Okay, so
if you get to deflower.
The game is called The Adventures of Young Virgin Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones and the fate of his virginity.
And 3, 2, 1, click.
That's the title.
Given that I don't do a picture anymore, I can do that because I can actually fit it
in. All right. Stringent citing.
Standing politeness.
Okay. This makes me feel like this is a bird watching game. Because I feel like the sort of regulations around sightings and having to note down specific, where you saw them, when you saw them, this sort of thing, can play into it then in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And then yours was standing what?
Politeness. Yeah.
So I feel like, so I don't think the main gameplay should, I'm not talking this as bird watching simulator, for, even though I'm sure that would sell really well the same way the super detailed train simulators sell. But I think this is more of a Pokemon Snap-ish sort of dealy, but with some real passive-aggressive competitive story stuff with the other birdwatchers.
Okay. So I'm picturing it's sort of like a Neo Tokyo sort of situation.
Okay.
The standing politeness always brought me back to, as you said, train. I thought monorail. You stand up, because you're being polite to and giving up your seat to someone. This sprawling city doesn't have much greenery left.
Mm-hmm.
So bird watching is one of those things that if you can see a bird, it's sort of it brings you back to nature. So the idea of the local park is this tiny little patch of grass with a single tree.
And just a circle of people with binoculars all trying to stare into its branches.
Yeah. And then I almost like the idea of you go on a bird watching, adventure where you sign up for something and you get taken out into the wilderness, which is actually almost like the suburbs where there's just a bit more parkland and that sort of stuff.
Well, actually, so I kind of actually like the idea of an urban birdwatching game and set in this kind of, this futuristic world where there is very little of nature left, and so spotting.
But still, all the statues have lots of bird shit over it.
And you're not sure where it comes from. No, well, that's one of the clues. That's one of the things you have to do to find the good spots.
It's like Monster Hunter World where you're going up and you do your little scrapey thing and it's ooh, I'm tracking that there was a bird by here recently this. Yep, this is fresh. This was the last 5 minutes.
Just so you know, Trevor just tasted the bird feces.
I did not taste. Oh. I felt and smelt.
Okay, well, now he's tasted it. Felt, smelt, and then you dealt. No. I like that idea then of having different signals or signs of particular types of birds as you're hunting them or tracking them through this city to find like the last remaining, birds of different breeds and this sort of thing. And so maybe you get rewards for tracking them down. Maybe there's even capturing.
You're literally going after like these boring birds like, ooh, you found the pigeon.
Oh, absolutely. It's like the last, nest of sparrows.
Robin. Magpie. Because for some reason they're an import.
Yeah, we did say Tokyo, didn't we? I don't know what sort of bird life they have there.
Neo Tokyo. So,
I mean, that's just generally taken as like, I guess it could be another place that the Japanese have called, that it's been called Tokyo somewhere else. But
if you think about like Big Hero 6 and that sort of stuff, where it was like San Francisco and Tokyo melded together because of.
Yeah, that was like a sort of hypothetical
amalgamation
place. Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I'm sort of thinking of. It's like,
just a generalized future city with different elements of existing cities.
Yeah, and lots of neon, lots of big billboards, digital billboards, like tall buildings, and maybe even you've got like when you're down on the roads, like there's no cars anymore because
right,
it's all flying cars and shit.
Yeah. Or actually, I kind of like that idea of most people, and I think we sort of, this isn't a new idea, but that down on the street is actually like the slums now. To be actually at street level, that's where the poor people live. Everyone else, is always 10 stories or higher in their flying cars and their floating platforms and their whatever else. But, to find certain types of birds, you need to go to a lot of different places, including, the dirtier parts of town.
I'm now picturing like having to go out on like, these walkways. Like there's obviously skyways everywhere and that sort of stuff. Having to walk over the top of them to find certain birds and.
So yeah, I guess I'm sort of picturing now. We could go in a few different directions. We could obviously take this in a fairly open world, parkourish kind of traversing around a large city direction, which would be fun, particularly, depending on the traversal methods and, the design of the city and that sort of thing. Or we could take it in a bit more of a focused area where it's, you're maybe choosing particular missions or something where it's like, okay, we want to track down this bird. And so it's set in a smaller area of the town, of the city, and you might have different types of gameplay per area. Like if you're down on the streets, it might be that you do have to do some tracking or some stealth stuff or like avoiding the gangs or whatever, or enlisting their help, or I don't know, like whatever it is. Whereas if you're more in the sky you're trying to find the last albatross as it flies across from the bay or something. Then
you got to be looking out for like the jetpack gangs that are just sort of floating around up there.
Well, that's going to be the rich people, so they're like, I mean, they're still gangs, but they're it's fucking Chad and his bros with their jetpacks harassing people.
In their like
fucking
suits
Chad.
with the arms torn off and like the big muscly, muscle bros.
Yeah, totally.
I'm picturing them in like 3-piece suits with the arms just torn off.
But they still have like the cuffs. They still have the cuffs. That's just part of the fashion. They keep the
cuffs,
just
down
the cuffs
here,
and the cuff links.
Yeah. And the leader literally has he's shirtless, has the cuffs and the cufflinks, has like the collar and the tie.
Yeah.
But that's it.
That's it. And the rest is shirtless. It's just the style at the time.
As was the style at the time.
So yeah, I think coming up against sort of different factions and yeah, you're essentially a scientist, right? You're trying to track, migrations and find endangered species of birds like pigeons in this futuristic world, where climate change has decimated most of the population and urban development.
And then you find like the the rare sort of birds like the rat with wings. That is literally our rat that has wings.
Yeah.
Some weirder sort of like
your little your hybrids and stuff from the the various supervillains who tried to genetically engineer and splice DNA.
I don't know why it came into my head, but I picture this as like there's like another future that also happens. Like it's like a grandfather telling his grandchild about like when he was going.
Yeah. So you're saying even further in the future, you've got the framing device. Okay.
And the framing device is very green. Like,
right. Okay. So they've recovered.
Like everything sort of turned back around. And it's like when I was a child, and it's like it shows like Neo Tokyo.
That's cool. Actually, sort of I like that as an idea of here's essentially how I helped to save the world. By tracking and breeding and capturing these birds and avoiding, that's kind of cool because you could make it really like he's talking himself up about fighting these gangs and because like, did you really fight gangs? It's like, yes, children.
Of course I did.
Wink. I like
it. and like just the fact that, this sprawling city, and you almost see suburbia in this, like, you see greenery outside and, like, typical suburbia. You think, oh, yeah, it's like 2020 and like, maybe, after it starts, it's like, 70 years ago, 2073.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. You make it look like a very lush version of today, of a modern sort of society. But yes, it's taken 150 years or something from now to get to that point.
Yeah.
I like that. And I love the idea of, like, at the end, it's, it'll pull back. They're all sitting in this field or whatever, and you see wreckages, like the still parts of the old city. Or either that or they're like it's just that it's a green city now. Like they've created, they've turned things around. It's still this huge metropolis, but there's like gardens everywhere on the roofs and stuff.
It's basically the slums are now all green, and then you see stilts, and you look up, and the city's just, it's all still up there, but it's like smog covered up there, but there's almost like
there's this whole section down the bottom that they've recovered.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. 3, 2, 1, click.
Complicate steady.
Overpriced realm.
I mean, realm immediately takes me to, like, Middle Earth sort of.
It's funny that. Why medieval. Does the word realm feel like fantasy? I guess, obviously it's just used, it's a term used more in that sort of context. Are you like a real estate agent in like a fantasy world?
Why does my head want to go realmity or something like that? Like
I'm a realmata.
I'm a realm estate agent.
So
the mundanity of
yes, like I like the idea of
selling.
The mundanity of a fantasy world, and obviously bringing in, again, that sort of suburban feel to fucking dragons. And it's like, I've got this great cavern that's been on the market for 3 months.
It used to be owned by a necromancer. There's not many skeletons left.
There's a horde. There's a platform. Yeah, there's a great platform for your horde. For your gold pile and plenty of warrants.
There's even a diving board. Like, you could tell that Scrooge McDuck used to live here. That's just a joke from like the world that I originally came from.
This is a human here? Is this
I don't.
Hello just from the Magic Real Estate Office. I guess I'm trying to figure out how the gameplay could work in this, though, because it's a fun idea.
It is.
It's like
it's a visual novel.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, but I'd want to be able to see these places, though. You want to be able to see the places. You want them rendered in high def 3D.
Yeah, I want this to be fully ArchViz, that you can go in VR.
Oh, yeah, totally. So is this like an open house planning game? Like,
I think
got to make sure burn some matcha window. Got to make sure the smell of sulfur is coming through this dragon cavern. To attract.
Yeah, depending on who you're trying to sell to, depends on what you're aiming up for. So in this case, you're selling a cave, and okay, well, we're going to have to make this good enough for a dragon to have their hoard and all that sort of stuff. You need to still tell the truth about, this used to be owned by a necromancer and all this sort of stuff. There's not too many skeletons left. There's maybe one or two that are hidden in the back passages.
Yeah, we have called the exterminators come through 3 times, by which we mean like one of the heroes at the tavern. We've hired them to kill 10 skeletons, but there always seems to be some left. So
they may be breeding down there, but don't worry, we'll put some skeleton traps out and they should be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And so a skeleton trap is just like a huge room that has like those gears that like crush, where the roof just comes down and just crushes the skeletons.
That's a feature. That's a feature.
Yeah. Now you reach into this little hole here, and you can pull a lever if you accidentally get in there. That's right, you're a dragon, so you got little arms. So maybe we need to give you.
It's all right. You won't fit through the door anyway. It's only for adventurers who are coming to try to steal your gold.
Yeah. So it doubles as cave security. It's a feature. In fact, you may want some of the skeletons to live to like in case a hero gets past.
So I kind of like this idea of it being. I don't want to make it too boring, but at the same time, I do like the idea of someone just having a portfolio of like
different properties,
caves and village taverns, that needs refurbishment, and a hobbit house and a huge wizard tower, like all these different things
huge wizard
that they're trying
tower.
to sell off. And people come in looking for places, and you've got to like try to match them up and sell it in some way.
Ooh. I kind of like the idea that someone comes to you and says, I want this sort of property. So you've got to go and clear out the property. Like of the current tenant.
Yeah, okay. So you can bring in some more traditional, like adventure, like RPG-ish or action-based gameplay.
But then you also get to do the flipping at the end.
So you're essentially flipping the place by clearing out all
the current occupants.
The current occupants. So you've got to scout the area. You have to scout the area. Well, I kind of like the idea that you've got a few different options. So you might find places that are vacant already, and so you have to do some work in there to like clean them up, get rid of the last few stragglers. So it is like kill 10 rats. It's essentially a fetch quest. Then you might have, there's already a tribe of orcs living in this, underground dungeon, but I've got a perfect buyer for it, so I'm just going to come in, and you can maybe hire help at the local tavern as companions, and you go through, you clear them out.
There's just something about like having cleared out this place, and then the buyer comes in and goes, "Oh, I was looking for something a little bit more downtown."
Yeah, I don't like it. It's like, oh fuck, all right. Get back to me.
You're going to go clean the new one. Or you can sort of go in there, clear it out just enough so you can take the buyer through. Once they give it the thumbs up, then you can do the final pass through. And
the idea that you can you take it during your inspection, while you're taking the buyer through, it's like, oh shit, I missed a room. Just stay here for a moment. Check out this lovely water feature. I'm just going to go back here, kill some fucking kobolds.
use some magic and just, send all the blood under the rug and just put the rug back down.
But yeah, I do like this idea of, because there's also a factor of, you'll have, okay, you've got 3 clients at the moment. They're looking for certain types of places. This dragon wants something, at least, with one room that's at least this size, and it needs to be at least, 20 meters below ground. And, they don't want any, blood stains because they want it to be nice and clean because they're a neat freak. So it's like, okay, you've got a few candidates, but if you, it means, I'm going to have to use magic to kill all these people and turn them into ash instead of killing with the sword because I don't want to create too many blood stains. And then
because that'll affect my my turnover.
Well, and it's just going to affect I know I've got this dragon who doesn't like blood stains, so they might not buy it if I make too much mess. And so that factors into your strategies for clearing out a particular space. That's really fucking cool.
I'm just imagining how procedural you can make all this thing.
You'd have to, I think. Yeah. It's essentially a roguelike in a way where, you find a place on the map and it's generated, this particular instance dungeon effectively, or a procedurally generated area. And you get a little bit of information about it beforehand. Okay, it's a dungeon or it's a tower or it's a house or it's a tavern or it's a whatever, but you don't know yet. Essentially what you're also doing as you go through it is finding out the details that are pertinent to, who of your clients might want it. And at the same time, you're getting XP and leveling up. I think even if you clear out a place and you don't have any clients for it right now, it's okay, well, I'll just keep it in my back pocket.
It's now as part of your portfolio that you can.
Yeah, you might have to. It might get reinfested if you don't go back there.
Ooh, or you may get sort of people come in and sort of squat. You could get squatters and that sort of stuff. So you got to go.
Yeah, I think over
go
time,
through and clean them out.
Yeah, if it's left vacant too long, you can get different things that can happen. And they can be random events, and it could even be a fucking dragon moves in, and that's a real challenge. And you might
it's a tribe of goblins who just sort of we found this place and it seems lovely.
Yeah, no, it's living here. Squatters' rights. You killed me.
And then all you're doing is you're selling to another tribe of goblins.
Yeah, the rival tribe.
And it turns out that it was actually the same tribe. And then you got to sort of sweep it all under the rug and make sure they didn't realize that
the literal rug that you put down because that wizard really wanted a nice rustic rug. No, I like that. And yeah, you clear out a place okay, I don't have any clients for that now, but yes, it becomes part of your portfolio. You can maybe advertise it then, and that might bring people in who, at least have some overlapping requirements with that place. Or yeah, you might have to try to offload it or just let it run to ruin and have to fix it up again later. But that gives you a lot of options for sort of managing your different properties.
But just then, having all these different houses to flip and all this sort of stuff that sometimes you may have to go in there and do renovations, and those renovations are literally going through and attacking different parts of the wall to bring down open this room up a bit and all this sort of stuff.
Well, I think you can hire help as well if you need to. There is some stuff you can do yourself, but it's going to be, if you haven't leveled up your rock, carving skills or whatever, then it's going to be a pretty ragged look. Some people might like that, but if you want a more polished, look.
Do you have to worry about engineering? Because if you leave too many weak spots, you take out a load-bearing wall and the whole thing comes down.
I guess it depends on how complex we want to make the simulation of these areas, but sure, why the fuck not?
We're not making it.
Yeah. So yes, having to worry about the actual structural stability of the building as well. Well, because you could even do things you might find there is the potential that you could find or build potentially a place that meets all the requirements of a dragon that's not a huge cabin. It's I found you this great 4-bedroom.
I've opened up. It's an open plan living room.
Yeah.
It's got high ceilings.
But then, like, you made it out of wood, and it just burns down as soon as they move in. But like, that's the deal signed. That's their problem. It met all the requirements.
Yeah. For some reason, I keep on coming back to the title that I've sort of put on it, which is Realm Estate or Realm Estate Agent.
Realm Estate Flippers. Realm Flippers. Yeah. Something like that. I like it. Yeah. That's really cool. All right. 3, 2, 1.
That is really cool.
Hip application.
Divine Blast.
Oh, okay. Is this the new match 3 taking the world by storm? Divine Blast. It's like Candy Crush.
Match the miracles.
It's the match 3 that Jesus plays.
You're matching 3 waters and it turns into wine. Match the fish and it just it grows.
It multiplies. No, I don't want to do a Jesus game.
No, I want this. Hang on, what were your words again? Let me have a look.
Or I could just tell you.
Hip application. Okay. I love that I've got access to seeing what you bring in.
All right. Is hip like cool, or is hip something to do with your physical hips?
I do like the idea of like, for some reason I've now got like this idea of this like hip pastor who's just come into town.
He's trying to,
he's trying to make Jesus motivating all these people, but he's also been given like divine powers from God to like wipe out evil.
Okay.
So he's
like a hip youth pastor.
Yeah.
Who is also like fighting demons.
Yeah.
In this town. Okay. Where does application come into it? He's on TikTok. He does TikToks of himself like praying and
destroying demons.
Destroying demons. He's got an OnlyFans. I thought it was like only for fans of Jesus. Like,
oh, God. Okay, so what sort of power does he actually have?
I mean, a blast. He can blast
obviously
things.
he can blast out holy light.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm sort of seeing almost like an Alan Wake sort of light versus dark. You know, it's all around. If you can get their shadow to appear, sort of thing, and verify that it's of an evil type, you blast it with divine light, and that.
Ooh, you said shadow.
Yeah,
I like the idea that yes, you cast divine light, but what you're actually trying to do is cast the shadow, like the shadow from that divine light, onto onto something that essentially, because they're demons or whatever, like their shadow is their power. And so if you use divine light to cast their shadow onto, I don't know, water or something, or holy water, or some sort of something, substance, surface, whatever, then that captures them. So it's all about getting the right angle, or like bouncing your
ray tracing
off of mirrors. Yeah, sure. It's a good application for ray tracing. It can be a fucking, key.
So it's all about focusing that light. So when you first come out, it's like, whoa, and you just focus it into.
Well, I don't know
into the mirror to.
Yeah, maybe, but I think it's about just like where their shadow ends up based on where you like blast this light at them, I guess. That might be too tricky to sort of visualize.
Yeah. So I'm liking the idea of all you're trying to do is just you're trying to work out who are the infected demons, and you can only tell by the horns in their shadows.
Okay, that's cool.
So basically, you're walking around, and unless there's like defined shadows on the ground, you can't tell. So in the normal daylight,
either that or that's what your divine blast is for, and it's just that like the horns only show up in the light of divine light, like, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So you have to maybe you can bless certain lights in the area. So it's about like you go to a club and there's a spotlight at the front where the bouncer is, and you bless that light, and it's like, okay, now I've got a good view of shadows of people as they're getting carded. You're also like checking them for horns or wings.
Hang on, your ID doesn't have horns on it. You're not allowed in here. You got it wrong.
Yeah, that could be cool. That could be cool. And then is it so then do you have other powers as well for fighting them, or do you just have to stab them then? You use the divine light to like find out who they are, and then it's just like, oh shit. You just have to actually fight a demon.
It's just a brawler.
Yeah.
It's a Mortal Kombat brawler where you can do like fatalities and stuff, but only on the demon.
Yeah, don't get that wrong.
I'm now just imagining that there's a scene early on where you're doing like a youth group and you sort of just in the off chance you shine out the divine light, and half the kids there have got horns.
Maybe it's actually like detecting sin in some way. It's only if the horns are like, everybody grows horns as they sin. And once they have sinned enough, like the horns are bigger or something, and I don't know. Or
maybe they're, the horns are like not solid in the shadow.
Yeah,
they're more transparent, and the more that they sin, the more opaque they become, until finally, when it's actually
I think they also
full.
grow as well, because I really like the idea of him just like checking out kids. It's like, okay. And then there's just like this sweet little 10-year-old girl, and he does a shadow, and there's just these huge fucking curly like demon Satan horns, shadow.
I'm just picturing that he looks down on the ground and goes, oh, that looks fine. And he looks on the wall. There's these massive horns. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
All right, let's move on. 3, 2, 1, click. Padded carry.
Rotated Monopoly.
Oh.
So you're saying padded and carry.
Yeah. When you say rotated Monopoly, does that count like when you flip the Monopoly boards?
I'm thinking it's a Monopoly from a standpoint of like this particular workplace that you actually work for. It's the only one that actually exists.
Yeah,
like, your business has a monopoly.
The actual term of the word monopoly, of holding all the, like, whatever.
Yeah, it's kind
share.
of like, because it's padded and carry, I'm almost thinking of this as like a package delivery sort of thing, where you're the only ones in town who actually are able to do like package delivery.
Yeah. So, what changes does having that monopoly give? Because, like, obviously, it means things like you can generally charge whatever you want, or you don't have to provide good service because you're the only option.
Oh yeah, it's all about no good service. Like when you're sending the package to someone, you're able to drop kick it. You're able to do whatever you want with it, basically.
Okay. So is this just like a sort of Paperboy-esque delivery game, but you are attempting to just like do as much damage to these packages as possible, or it just doesn't matter if you damage these packages? It's like deliver as fast as you can with not caring about whether they get damaged.
I'm wondering whether you could do this as like a papers, please sort of thing, where you see on the delivery slip this customer has complained before. So you give them extra bad service just because.
I kind of like this as a semi-open map of like a bunch of streets, and you do a run, and maybe you've got a time limit, so you're trying to do it as fast as possible. And it's like, okay, next item, pull the next item from the truck. All right, this is where it needs to go to. It's like, all right, shit, burn rubber to there. All the shit in the back is bouncing, and we're tracking the damage on each individual item within there, based on how fragile they are and their weight and all this sort of shit. And then you just like, in that sort of Paperboy style, you've got some sort of mechanics for like, judge your power and your aim or something and fire it to try to get it as close as possible. And you get points for getting it close. But also it also keeps track of each customer, like each house, of how damaged the things get, so they get more and more irate. And so, you get a sense of, oh, I've delivered to Mr. Jenkins a bunch of times and I always destroy his shit, like he's getting really pissed off. And maybe if it gets high enough, they won't use you anymore. They just don't send packages or something, or like whatever it is. But,
or they get, violent and start attacking start retaliating by firing shit at you.
Back at you. Yeah, actually that's cool, because I'm picturing this as quite an arcadey sort of thing. So yes, if you've pissed off one house too much, then they start throwing shit back at you when you're trying to deliver the packages and slowing you down and stuff. It basically,
which actually in turn damages other packages. And
yes. There's a whole knock-on effect. I kind of like that idea. And then, it's sort of, it tracks over time then, just your general happiness of all your customers and how much damage of each thing you do each day. And that doesn't affect your bottom line, because you can charge whatever you want effectively. But yes, it's, as people get more and more pissed off, it's just basically starts this like war against the package company, depending on how well you've done.
Yeah, I love the idea of it being set in space, where you're doing you're going through this neighborhood in 3D sort of thing, all these different asteroids and stuff where people are living, and
that could be a fun twist, or even just a like big futuristic like bubble city on the moon or something. So it's like low gravity. You've got all these multi-story areas, or like gravity's not a huge factor, so you've got ups like they're on every angle and stuff. But you'd want it small enough that you still sort of keep track of where everything is. But that's cool.
Yeah,
and I'm picturing like descent controls then.
And I'm almost thinking the title of the game is Elite Paperboy. Or Elite Package Delivery.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. All right, I like it.
3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah.
Recent Tale. Tale.
1000 Foundation. My mind's going through a bunch of different things for 1000 Foundation. So houses have foundations, so I'm almost picturing some sort of like new area where 1,000 houses have been built. And whether it's like terraforming a new planet, or it's like under the sea, or I don't know, something. Foundations.
I do love the whole terraforming a new planet sort of thing, that there's 1,000 people who came across in an ark.
Yeah, or 1,000 families or something.
Yeah, something like that. And you've got basically, these 1,000 households that are sort of, and it's just a tale of what they sort of go through.
Yeah, is it somewhat procedurally generated?
Yeah.
So, in a lot of these
roguelike,
there's that recent Mars one. There are a few different ones where you're like, okay, building up on a planet or whatever and building up your stuff. I like the idea that you start,
which was the Mars one?
It's by the City Skylines guys.
Was that the Surviving Mars?
Surviving Mars, yeah, I think so. But I like that within this one, you've got your civilization there at the beginning. Like, you start with 1,000 healthy, happy households, and it's kind of how shit goes wrong and how you handle it that defines how well you do and what you are left with.
Yep.
And so I think, I wonder, it's like procedurally generated. You're in a different spot on this planet, or a different type of planet, or whatever. It's like dealing with different sorts of things. And I don't know, is it building and stuff then? Or is it just around like policy decisions? Is it around defense stuff? Like,
there's just something about having someone having to deal with just being a citizen of this place and having to deal with rules that are being put in place.
So you're saying you don't play like the mayor of this town?
No, you play one of the citizens who are just trying to adhere to all the stupid policies that they're putting in place. Like, I'm sort of seeing it almost like a Sims. But, you know, the sort of stupid thing is, today's thing is, okay, you must have red doors and this sort of stuff. So you're trying to follow along with the policy. And it's like, oh, those houses that have 3 windows now need to have blue doors. But if you,
oh my God. Okay. That's a very different vibe, but that's fine. But now I'm thinking though, instead of, is this a 1,000-person game? And I'm not saying it, I don't think it's real time because obviously it's pretty hard to do matchmaking for 1,000 people. But is it a sort of Sims-like game? You go into a server, you start your game, everyone gets a house, and
the AI basically tells you, okay, you have to try and keep in line, or we send the sort of police out to sort of
something like that. Yeah, they get penalties, or like one of your fucking household members is executed. I don't know. But essentially it is these like interconnected rules around how you run and build and set up your house. And yeah, you kind of, you get a few chances, but you eventually get knocked down. It's like you're trying to be the last one standing, I guess.
Yeah. Model citizen.
Yeah, you're trying to be the model. Yeah, there you go. That's what we call it. It's a good title for it.
I'm actually coming up with some reasonable titles tonight.
Yeah, we're usually terrible at titles, but you're going well tonight. So I'm almost picturing this. So this is slightly off topic. Have you heard of this Blaseball thing that's going on?
No.
So because of the COVID stuff, you know, the sports aren't running. And so I haven't looked deep into this, but I watched one video of it. There's this company, sort of game company, who is running seasons of this imaginary sport where the rules are changing like every week in all these weird and wacky ways. And I'm pretty sure there's a whole like fantasy baseball system where, because there's all these actual teams, and I think you can like create your fantasy teams, and then they essentially like play out these games where this weird shit happens. So I'm almost picturing it a bit like that, where you've got a season, and you're house number 125 on planet, you know, X0156 or whatever that has been colonized, and you're trying to last as long as possible. But the AI, you know, the town AI has essentially gone a bit bonkers. It's gone a bit insane on the trip over. And so yes, it sends out its drones to like execute one of your family members if you don't follow these ridiculous rules around how to set up your house.
That change every single day sort of thing.
Which change, or they get built upon or whatever. And so you kind of have to guess. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like if you have an odd number of windows, then you have to have a blue door. And so, and you just have to count. Like you've just got your house, and it's, I think, a relatively basic Sims-like sort of situation where it still affects the people in your house. So you still have to make it a functional house.
Yeah.
But
then you got to wonder, is a skylight a window?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have shit like that.
Is a dome one window, or is it,
or like every segment?
Or is it a window for every sort of segment that is like 30 centimeters in length?
And so you're having to second guess. You're having to like figure out, all right, I'm going to add a window because my door's already blue. I don't have enough money to repaint it. But you don't know what tomorrow's rule is going to be.
Yeah.
And I think
every day, like, there's like a selection of people who are the worst performing, and they're the ones that get targeted first. So your whole thing is like on every 10 minutes or so, or 5 minutes, like someone gets like policed out.
Oh no, I was thinking of this more as like, I think I guess it depends on how you do it, but I was thinking of this as like a week or 2 week long season.
Okay.
Because it's more of an asynchronous thing.
Yeah. So you could even have, like, you got arcade mode, which is like 100 people in. You've got to do everything really quickly, and the rules are changing every 5 minutes.
Okay,
or so.
yeah, and with less people.
And then you've got the 1,000 player.
Yeah.
Like asynchronous mode.
And that's over like a week, and it's like every 12 hours there's a new culling
rule that comes into place. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they build up over time, or like one is added, or two are added and one's removed, or I don't know, whatever. Like, or
I would just love if some of these rules actually contradict each other, and you had to sort of weight it as
absolutely
and go, okay, this is weighted more in this favor, and because of something that was set on the first day.
Or I think like that a lot of the rules, they may contradict, or if it's just really hard to like, I think it's really hard to have a functional house and apply all the rules. So you risk your like people starving to death, but at least one of them won't be executed, right? And then maybe the next day that particular rule will relax a bit. I do like the idea of them being weighted a bit, because then it's like, okay, there's one heavily weighted one, but it's, it's pretty expensive. Whereas if I do, all of the other ones, it's not going to cost me as much money, and I'm going to have a more functional house, but I'll just take the hit for that.
Yeah. And it's sort of like demerit points. Like, you get X number of demerit points that, is calculated in the system. And, the worst performing households get booted out first.
There's only a certain number of drones or something. Because I like the idea of there being some real random elements as well, or like, maybe things can happen that literally like take out one of the drones.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, oh, well, now only the bottom 7 people instead of the bottom 8 people get a household member killed because there aren't enough drones. Like, and you could have a whole lot of complicated stuff around like making alliances and joining households or something, or sharing, or like, oh, you've got a red door and I've got a blue door, or like I'll trade you and then we won't have to pay to get repainted because then we can spend our credits on fixing up other things.
Or they bought a set of paint and they've got 30% left of it, and you find enough groups that have actually got 30% left of their paint, and you get 3 of them together, and okay, if there was 30% left over from all these different people, then it's only going to take me about 70% to actually
something like that. But I think you can keep it more basic. I think you can only like trade or view the houses of the direct neighbors. So either 4 or like 8, depending on if you, because I think it's just a huge grid. Because this AI has just created a grid of, it's effectively this giant suburb.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was like the AI realized that the best possible configuration was just concentric circles? Like, I think there's no through roads or anything like that. Like, all you can do is go around your tiny little neighborhood.
No, I like the idea of a grid because it really evokes, like, I feel just this. Because I think you can get like an overview, and it's just this huge area of all these suburban looking houses. I think they're very like white picket fence sort of houses, and they're all the same size block. And can you imagine like after all these rules have come in, because you could do stuff like if your neighbor has a red door, you must have. Like, if at least one of your neighbors has a red door, you must have a blue door or whatever. And so you could have, like, time lapses of this huge 1,000-block thing as, like, one person changes to a red door and then the other person's like, oh, shit, they changed to a red door. I need to change to a blue door. And then the other person's like, oh, they don't have a red door anymore. I can and you just get these waves of changes across this fucking map as these rules come in. And it's
like the seventh picket in from the left needs to be green instead of white.
Well, and you can do things like, because they'll all have addresses, right?
And they've actually got to paint in green the binary code for their house.
Well, I'm more thinking you've got like a coordinate system. Because what do you need to have a 1,000 blocks, what would that be on each side?
In fact, let's just make it. Let's just make it a little bit easier.
Yeah,
1024.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Jesus.
So that'd be what?
64?
Yeah, 64 by 64.
No. That makes 496 must be 32. Yeah, 32 by 32. Gives you a 1024 blocks. So yeah, like you're at address 27-3 because you're on like the 27th column and the third, row down. But it's, if you've got an even column number, then this rule applies to you. Otherwise it doesn't, this sort of thing as well. And so you'll get all these fucked up combinations.
But you don't realize that it's zero based and therefore odd numbers are even and even numbers are odd.
That's not how that works.
Yes,
but
it is.
It could be zero based. Well, no, maybe
because zero is still column number 1.
No, God, that'd fuck things up. Being zero based doesn't make 1 an even number. It's because it's anyway.
I always say that when I think about it, I'm like, okay, so the first column is 0, so the second column is 1, and the third column is
yeah, but that's just your index rather than anyway. That's really fucking fun. I think that to actually build that, you'd have to make the house stuff fairly simple. But I could imagine that, like, having that central server where you've just got these 1,024 rendered houses with these different configurations and stuff, and just viewing that whole thing, that'd be so cool.
Oh, yeah. And seeing the time lapse, and also seeing that, okay, because you haven't followed enough of the rules, like, to get power to your place, you need to have followed these rules and all this sort of stuff.
Or just when people are out, like the power goes out to the house. And so, yeah, you just see the front lights on all these houses going out over time as they all get knocked out. That's fucking awesome. I want to build that or play that or what something. That's
okay,
cool.
Let's do one more, but it's got to be a quick one.
All right, one little quickie. 31 click. Fighting teenager.
Ripping dessert.
Okay. Some sort of food fight game. I know we did one of those way back in the day.
Yeah. So long ago. So I'm picturing that this is like a boarding school.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is, set, late at night. You got all the different cliques throughout the boarding school.
Yep.
And it's literally all about the food fight that happens every night during dessert.
Okay. So it's like is it just a fighting game then? Is it like a tournament based? Is it every night this food fight happens and somehow there's deemed a winner and you're trying to get points for your like wing of the boarding school? Yeah, it's kind of like
Splatoon, in which, you're trying to get the most of your goo everywhere, but it's sort of like a reverse Splatoon.
So it's an all boys.
You're trying to get the least amount of dessert on you.
So it's an all boys school trying to get their goo everywhere. Is that what you're saying?
You're the one that went there.
All right. Okay. I like this idea of it being a fairly arcadey sort of thing. So I feel like there are a few different levels. You've got like the dining hall. Sometimes it's set like outside in like the quad or whatever.
It starts in like the cafeteria sort of area and branches out to the rest of the school, a la your like paintball and community and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I guess it depends on how because I'm sort of thinking that you play it in round. It's almost like a career mode in like a sports game where you pick your house.
/ click.
So whatever, like, it's like, okay, we're B wing of this huge boarding school and you can set up we're going to be the goths. We're going to be the goth kids, and our specialty is ice cream. And so you come armed with scoops.
Yep.
And then you effectively play a match every night, and then we have to set up like fairly, like straightforward rules around what counts as a point, like how do you win, and then it's like it's literally you play a season.
Well, I'm almost seeing this as like a this is the new battle royale sort of game that you've got, 16 people go into a match, and it's all competitive multiplayer.
Oh, okay. But is it team-based or is it? Yeah,
I kind of like 4v4.
Okay, 4v4 from 4 different houses.
Yeah.
All right.
So you got the goths are all ice cream. The clowns, the class clowns, they're all cream pies.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more about
the womanizers. They're also cream pies. They're just different cream
pies. Gross. This time you went there. I think if you're going competitive multiplayer, I think you're going to have to give them different options. So I think it's more about, all right, you do choose for a season, but it's not the style of your team is not necessarily linked to like their main weapon or whatever. I think it's just you've got different opportunities to be an expert in fucking hot dogs, whatever, in pastas.
In a dessert fight.
Oh, I forgot it was always dessert. Whatever. Dessert pasta. That's a thing.
It is actually chocolate pasta.
I
want some dessert now.
Well, let's finish the fucking episode then, and we can get some dessert. I guess it's just around then. You got to make it. Yeah, is it just about you get coverage? Actually, that'd be interesting. Most sort of fighting shooting games are just about get headshots. Do the most damage. This is about coverage on the body, and it's dynamic as you hit them in particular places.
Splash zone and how much force there was left in the projectile sort of thing.
Yeah, totally. And so you've got the different types of things. Like ice cream doesn't have much splash damage, but like it will do a good amount of coverage on the area you hit.
But if you hit them with melted chocolate, then you're doing really, really well. But of course, the milkshake topping or the ice cream topping, it splashes really well, but it doesn't have much purchase. Like you can't throw it very far.
Well, and also it just doesn't. It doesn't stick very well, right? So
it stains.
You can throw a milkshake and like get some coverage on like 3 people with the splash damage for it, but it's not gonna like be particularly good, thick.
Yeah, a milkshake is so like your shotgun. It's your close range. It kind of spreads out a little bit, but it can get a lot of coverage.
Yeah. Whereas like
but only
if you manage to stick an apple pie on their back, then that's, top points.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm loving this 4v4 for quad.
4 to the 4.
Well, technically it's just 4 squared.
No, that'd just be 4 by 4.
4 times 4.
Well, 4 times 4 people. Yeah, I guess so. Anyway.
Okay. So what are you fighting for? What's your prize? Is it kind of like PUBG where you're going for like chicken dinner? But in this case, it's like cream of the crop, or it's like ice cream sundae,
cherry on top. You got the cherry on top.
Ooh! If you manage to create a full ice cream sundae on one of your
you have like combos. You manage to get like a banana and ice cream and whipped cream and a cherry on one person. Then
that person's eliminated.
Uber points, or just points or something or whatever. Yeah, because I kind of like
if they manage to clean it up.
I kind of like that it is around like the coverage and what you get stuck on them, because then I'm just picturing like the final screen when it just shows each team on either side dynamically with what they're covered in and what's stuck on them. Mm-hmm. So you can really gauge exactly how well anybody got hit.
Oh, I'm now picturing the announcer from Unreal Tournament going, banana, ice cream, cherry,
banana splits,
banana split,
triple banana split, quadruple banana split, epic banana split,
chocolate topping.
You got tipped.
Okay.
Brain freeze. That's when you get a headshot with the ice cream. All right. I think we'll end the episode there. Thanks for joining us this week on Bitstorm. Our penultimate, no, not our penultimate, but like our final episode before episode 200.
Okay. So I've decided that I'm going to do all the outro tonight.
For no reason whatsoever.
For no reason, no baby siren whatsoever. So we'd like it if you could go to podchaser.com/bitstorm and give us a rating and review there. You can find all our old episodes there. You can also find some other awesome podcasts out there. We've guested on quite a few of them. We're also part of the 8-Bit Collective. It's a collection of awesome podcasters, all part of the 8-Bit Nation. So go check out all the other podcasts on Twitter. Just look for hashtag 8-Bit Collective. I think that's pretty much what you do. Now it's into what I normally do, which is check out the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Just look for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook or at AJP Network on Twitter. And then, finally, the awesome musicians at Kuradust gave us permission to use the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure for our opening and closing theme.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I have got a great cave to sell you.